Hi, I'm Maya from Bookworm Dreams and welcome to a new video. Today we'll quickly go through my February TBR. So I have 6 books on my TBR, but of course that can change daily, and it does. There are, stuff that I have to read. I'm actively now focusing on finishing my Reddit Fantasy Bingo reading challenge. And for this month I picked 2 prompts. The first one being urban fantasy, and for that I picked Dead Men in a Ditch by Luke Arnold. This is book 2 in his, I don't know what the series is called, the Fetch Phillip series. Since it has been quite some time since I've read the first one, I'm gonna reread this one first and then go to the sequel after. Basically, in this urban fantasy series, we follow Fetch Phillips, who is somewhat responsible for the disappearance of magic in this world. And because there is no more magic, all the supernatural creatures or magical creatures are suffering because of that. And Fetch is like is he a PI, if I remember correct? He's either a PI or like a handyman, basically. Not a handyman, what do you call those? Errand boys. And he just basically goes around helping supernatural creatures. And he has a very tragic backstory, if I remember correctly. The sequel, I guess, deals with a bunch of stuff that's happened in the first book. I don't want to spoil it because the first book really just sort of punches you in the gut, basically. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to read these 2. The second prompt I'm going to work on is read a book by an author that uses initial in their name. And for that, I picked Rob J. Hayes. I haven't read anything from him. So I'm going to read his book, Along the Razor's Edge. I saw this book being mentioned on Instagram by a Croatian author that I follow. And she basically compared this book to a movie that I really like. It's not good, but I really like it. The Chronicles of Riddick. It has similar vibes to that movie, so I'm looking forward to reading it. Basically, we follow a young girl. She was soldier in this giant war or something, and her side lost, and then she was placed in the pit, which is I guess a giant prison. Where she has to survive without her powers and find a way to, I guess, get out. This is book 1 in a fantasy series, so if I like this one, I might continue on with it. Like, I need more series to read, but you know. Then, for my book club that I have with Christina, my sister, and another friend, I have to read The Office of Dead Letters by Nat Newman. Okay, so this is kind of, it's not weird, but it sounds zany. So basically, in this story, we follow a former soldier, Marilyn Moon, and she comes across a dead letter. And so she takes herself and a secretary and some accident-prone doctor, and the 3 of them travel through world, and there's like space-time stuff that's happening to sort of deliver this dead letter, and stuff happens. I don't know. I'll figure it out when I read it. For the buzzword reading challenge, the prompt for February is, I think, a verb. And for that, I picked a book called Falling Sky. In this story, we follow Ben. Ben lives in a world that has been rampaged by a virus. And I guess it turned people into something called ferals. So I guess they're, let's say, zombie-like. I have no idea. And basically everyone else who's managed to survive is now living in the air, in dirigibles, however you call those things, and various airships. So Ben then uses his skill and his airship to help a scientist called Miranda to find like the cure for the virus disease, I guess. And then of course something happens and they end up on the ground and they're trying to survive. Then I have to read books for the Christinelli Awards, and I am so behind. I read nothing for that in January. So I'm going to try and focus most of the month on reading those, because I have 7 novels and 7 novellas to get through. And I think our date to nominate stuff is till the end of April, and I don't want to like leave it for April. So yeah, I'm going to focus on reading most of Christinelli Awards this month. I picked like 2 to talk about. So first one is Hunt the Stars by J.C. Michalik. I don't know if I've said that correctly. It's sort of been, I don't want to know too much about it, but what I've learned from like half listening to people talk about it, it's a love story. It's set in space. It's, I believe, enemies to lovers. They are bounty hunters, and they have to sort of hook up with an old enemy. And the leader of the bounty hunters has to work with this general dude, and they together have to hunt for something. and then I guess sparks fly and whatnot. So I think there are sequels to this. So yeah, I'm going to focus on that. And another story that I'm going to focus on, it's a love story, so yay, for February, I have no idea. So I'm going to focus on A Tale of Iron and Gold by Alexandra Rowland. Basically, if I remember correctly, it's a fantasy romance. We follow a young prince, and he's set on a mission with his bodyguard to do something. They have to figure out who broke into something, and I don't know, romance stuff happens, and there's political stuff, and there's like whatever. I'll figure it out when I read it. And of course, since this is February, the month of love, I'm going to passively participate in oh my god, February fantasy romance February. Yes, I say passively. That means I'm just going to read one book for that. And basically, this is like a month-long thing that happens. There are events and author interviews, and like I think there's probably an Instagram challenge. Lots of things happening where basically the focus is on fantasy romance. And for that event, I'm going to read A Promise of Fire by Amanda Boucher, I believe. And basically, what I know about this story is we have a dude who wants to become king. Very powerful and whatnot, burly and shit. And he finds a witch that has like this rare power of basically knowing when someone is lying or not. And I do believe there's a trope of a forced proximity. And so he somehow chains her to him and whatnot. So they can't leave each other's sides, and they go on adventures and do stuff. And that's pretty much all I know about this. This was not very helpful, not informative at all, because I am in this sort of mood where I don't want to know anything. I'll just grab a book and read it. And yeah, this is my February TBR. If you had read any of these and you want to share your thoughts, please do so down below. There are also some links in the description box for you to check out. If you like this video, please press the like button. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!